this is our first live broadcast, a new feature that we're calling Third Thursdays. I know it's not the third Thursday, but this is the first day from a compliance perspective that we can broadcast live on our social platforms. So we thought we'd take advantage of it to do two things. The first thing, to announce the new feature that you'll be able to see every third Thursday starting next month, and also to introduce an integral team member that we have not yet had the chance to introduce on the podcast. That person is my husband and business partner, Eric Tingom. Eric, welcome in.
Hi, Shayna. Thanks for having me.
No, I'm so glad that you're here and that we are learning a little more about you. I get asked a lot from clients and even prospects what you do in the firm. But before we get to that, I really want to start with a little bit more about your background and what led you to working with Heritage other than marrying me. So does that sound fair?
Sure.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your background.
So background. My background is in accounting and different things with finance and business management, consulting, and information technology. And I have been doing background in accounting and finance. Let's see. My family, parents who are both accountants. Dad was a stockbroker with various firms over the years. And so I kind of understand what the firm is about, and then what led you into wanting to create Heritage Financial Strategies.
Yeah, for sure. And before we started Heritage, and I say we because I couldn't have done this without your support, you were running your own business and working with large government contracts, doing some of the same stuff you do for us, but very different work, doing a lot of traveling and really, we joke with folks that we've been married 18 years. It'll be 18 years in September. And I joke with people that the first 6 months of our relationship was us trying to figure out who was in what town and which direction we wanted to go, because you were traveling for a living. I was traveling for a living. We had some great weekends in New Orleans and San Francisco and different places, but you continued to do that a lot up until COVID, right?
Yeah. Traveling almost 20 plus weeks a year for 2 to 3 days each week.
Yeah. And that's hard. That's not fun.
A lot of time.
And that all stopped when we got to March of 2020.
Yeah, it certainly did.
Yeah. And I think you were ready for it to stop personally. But we also had to figure out what that meant for you moving forward, because we obviously live in Arizona. Much of your work was in California. And if you wanted to expand that portfolio, we either had to move to California, move to DC, or some other part of the country that neither one of us had an interest in living in, I think, right?
Yeah, it definitely could have.
Yeah.
The consulting space and where I saw what I needed to do, I would have to create new relationships to get new business in that space for that company. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And it was about that time that I really needed help with Heritage, because it had gone from me being the only advisor with one support person to having multiple advisors and multiple support folks. And I was struggling with running the business and working in the business and all things related to that. And so enter you in at really the end of 2020, right? That's sort of when I think we both came to the realization that I needed your help, if I think back to that time.
Yeah, it was, with what we do inside the firm and understanding the challenges of where the growth is going to occur with it. within our product offering and how we were shaping things up instead of heritage. Yeah, I needed to take a more predominant role as we added people and needed to add the training and the skills of making sure our processes and procedures are up to date and can be rolled out in a scalable fashion.
Yeah, for sure. And so you came in at the end of 2020, and then in 2021 we took on building a brand new office from scratch.
Yep.
Which was a little crazy looking back at it, but I'm so glad we did it because the space that we're in is absolutely beautiful and we all love working here. But boy, that was a lot because the landlord tore it down and let us framed it and let us rebuild it essentially how we wanted to. So we hired the designers and the painters and found the flooring and the lights and the desks and literally everything. And that was your baby, really. Planning all of that, getting all of the contractors to show up and do their work when they were supposed to, and making sure that we were ready to move in. We started in July, I want to say, of 2021 and moved in November.
Yeah.
So to get the space completely rebuilt in 6 months is kind of a miracle during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of
And
being flexible on the design and also with the materials that we had to get because of the shortage.
yeah, I tell people all the time that my favorite color was whatever was in stock when we were putting it together because we didn't really have a choice. So we had to take the best of what was available.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And you and my dad, who spent many a late night and weekend there leading up to our grand opening, it wouldn't have been possible without the two of you. So I'm grateful for that. And then really last year was all about getting the right people in the right seats and making sure that we have everything that we need in order to move forward from a product, pricing and systems and procedure perspective. Do you think that what you did really working in the small businesses that you had prior to Heritage and then with the government contracts that you worked with, do you think that helped prepare you for what you do now?
Yeah, because a lot of it is when we look at our financial planning set of services in our portfolio, it's it's a comprehensive, what I would equate to a traditional project that I would have been managing or managing several levels simultaneously. But it has a lot to do with understanding, goals. What are the goals that need to be in place in the financial plan that help drive, how it can be funded to achieve those goals. And then with that, when we look at the realization of the expenses and how much that impacts the realization of a goal, especially if you're looking at a savings goal, I just felt that that is something that what I've been doing for years is actually with businesses, whether or not it's government or it's a private business, working with them on the solution for where they want to go as a company, really does align because it's dealing with, the first part is getting the plan put together. And the remaining parts are the execution, which is where you get your expertise in the investment comes through. And then we have, making sure that we're looking at the tax side of the implications of making sure that the investments and the goals and taking into account what the tax implications are of achieving some of the income goals, and being able to make sure that it's the right amount. It's not the too high or too low.
Yeah, for sure. And you've really jumped in and kind of rolled your sleeves up and learned a lot of different aspects of the industry, from, submitting paperwork to getting the systems to talk to each other, to doing some what we call paraplanning work, which is, entering those expenses and the budget and all of those things into the financial planning software, to now really taking on the tax side of the practice and managing our tax subcontractors. And so that's really been helpful, um, because Eric comes at it from a very different perspective than I do. And he's very methodical. That's what my mom and dad would call you, is methodical. And that's been a benefit, without a doubt, to having him on board. I have a tendency, especially when I'm evaluating new shiny things like pieces of technology, to cut before I measure. And Eric has a tendency to measure 3 or 4 times before he cuts. And it's helpful to have both of those pieces of the puzzle in the practice.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's the balance that we have to always strike, is right, is before doing something um, that we think looks good, we have to try it out before we have our clients go through the experience, because I think that's the one thing this year that we really want to improve for everybody, is our client experience, and keep honing the experience for everybody to really have a wow experience, understand what it means to have a financial plan that they understand, and that is achievable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important, because so many times I think in our industry, they put together a beautiful financial plan that nobody knows what to do with. And then it just sort of sits on a shelf, and the experience and the money that they spent to produce it are wasted, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the biggest thing, um, and really, I think, producing a plan but not understanding the relationship of how we spend money impacts those choices. And it's
Yeah.
almost that we have to put into the way we look at our expenses is, well, an expense for our future selves. Like, how much we want
Yeah.
to pay into the future, so that what we want is achievable.
Yeah. Well, I know you say all the time that you work out today for your future self, right?
Yeah, yeah. I work out to survive
Not
old age.
you work out to survive old age. I hear that all the time. And that's why we plan, is not for today necessarily, although there's benefits to planning for today. It's for your future you. And that's really why I love doing what I do. And I know you're starting to see why we all love what we do here at Heritage, because we get to have such a great impact on every client's future self. The stuff that we do today and tomorrow and this week and this month and this year are fun and amazing and awesome. But now I'm, having been in the business now for more than 10 years, I'm starting to see clients graduate from high school and retire. And oh man, that's so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
And that's the reason why we do what we do. It's not to sell the investment products or whatever. It's to get to have that impact. Well, we're running out of time, because I know you're busy and so am I, but I wanted to introduce you and thank you for your contribution to the practice. I couldn't do what I do without you, so thank you.
I'm always happy to help you.
I know you are. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
Um, Go Suns, but we're not in basketball season. I mean, we're out
Yeah.
of the playoffs, but
We'll say go Nuggets, because then we don't look so bad for blowing it again this year, right?
well, I wouldn't say that.
That's fair. Thanks to anybody that's watching, and we'll be back
Yeah.
the third Thursday of July for another live broadcast.